My name is Terry Julio Thornton. I am the pastor of the Sweet Hope Free Will Baptist Church. I have the privilege of pastoring for 20 years now. It's all God. Terry did not want to be a pastor. That was not my plan in life. My plan in life really was to be an accountant. But all that got changed and switched up, and here I am today. The accounting program that we were in, they canceled it, and so they didn't allow us to transfer to another school, a citywide school in particular, that still had the program, so had to just find something else to do. And at that point I was, I had one more year before I graduated. I said, okay, life is changing. I grew up in Edmonson Village. I was born on Edmonson Street, lived 142, and then we moved up on the old Frederick Road. My two brothers and my mother. Growing up in Edmonson Village, just in Edmonson Village as a whole community, it was always a great community to live in. During the time I grew up, you want me to tell people my age? They might get scared off by that. I was born in '61, so growing up in the '60s and the '70s in Edmonson Village was a great place. Particularly, you get to know everybody in the neighborhood, and everybody knew you. Other people's big brothers and sisters, they were your big brothers and sisters as well, and likewise their little brothers and sisters. So it was almost like one big family. I had a couple of best friends. Growing up, particularly once I got in high school, because we moved off of Denison Street up to the top of Edmonson Village in 1973. And so my friends kind of changed a little bit. But I still, I still hung out. I tell people I hung out in Edmonson Village from the top to the bottom. I knew people from the top to the bottom, and so that's what I did. I hung out. You could find me in the 100 block of Denison or the 700 block of Edgewood, 700 block of Grantley, Leonard, you name it, Harlem Avenue, Edgewood, Denison, just from Hilton on up, basically, the Uplands Parkway. That was my territory for roaming. And so my best friend at the top, his name was Timothy. He's gone on to be with the Lord. Rest his soul. He was in my wedding, so grateful for him. He had a lot of adventures and misadventures. I'll just say it that way. And then, have a good friend that's here, that serves with me here in ministry. That's from back in the day as well. Dwayne, he serves with us here at Sweet Hope. I'm grateful for him. We've been friends since high school. And then, I have my other friends from down the bottom, Ralph. Yeah. Well, because it's just so many people that, particularly, and like I said, I go back to what I said. We just grew up. It was like such a close-knit community that almost everybody's like your friend. They're like a brother, and so, you name one, you got to name 10 others, and so. But that was good, and I thoroughly enjoyed growing up in the Edmonson Village. I wouldn't trade it for the world. There are so many people that think that their growing up years was difficult. It might have had its challenges, but I think growing up in that environment helped us not really to see the challenges, but allowed us to thrive. Well, the whole time I was comfortable, not to say that we were rich and famous and that kind of thing and had servants and stuff. No, my mother, she was very discipline oriented, made sure we knew the right things to do, how to treat people, how to be mannerly, gave us chores and work to do so that we had a work ethic, and school was one of those primary kind of things that you had to do well in. Church growing up, no, we didn't go regularly every Sunday. We weren't those kind of Christians. But we knew who Jesus was. We knew my mother prayed without a shadow of a doubt. Seeing my mother pray through some storms. And so I guess my first time really understanding and recollecting about understanding what prayer was about was my oldest brother um, taken ill, very ill, deathly ill, basically. And my mother gathered us all together and said, we got to pray. I was about 6 years old, and I could see my brother languishing, but we prayed, and God saved him. He's still here. Um, but yeah, I remember that. And so you have those, what I call spiritual markers that pepper my journey to help me understand why I'm at the place I am today. Um, and so when I reflect over that, I see those different markers in my life along the journey. Um, so um, to say that we go to church, no, but we sure enough knew who Jesus was. We sure enough knew how to pray. And, you know, so that's part of my motto here at Sweet Oak. We pray without ceasing. 1 Thessalonians 5:17. Pray walk. Got on my license tag on my car. Pray walk. So if you ever see it, pray without ceasing. Don't ask me, what's that? What's that? No, it's pray without ceasing. So she garnered the utmost respect from her three sons, and we showed it. And no matter how old or how big we had gotten, even to this day, still show her all the respect for the queen that she is in our lives. Growing up as a kid, the games I played, well, I'll start here. Baseball was my first love. We played baseball. My wife, Jackie, you know, she played baseball right along with us growing up. And that's a whole nother little part of the story. But she grew up in the same neighborhood and played baseball with us. So it was baseball. That's one of the things. And then, of course, there was football. We played real football with no helmets. It's real hard-nosed football. Mike know what I'm talking about. So we played that kind of football. Played, of course, on the playground. It just depends on which stage. We had our street games that we played: Scully, hide and go seek, catch one, catch all, hopscotch, jump rope, all kinds of things. Might have a little skirmish in the alleys every now and then with people that y'all just had some crossings, but all that got squashed and we moved on and kept enjoying life. Exactly. We have a little beef, play the next day, still friends, probably still friends with some of those people to this day, no matter what happened then. I grew up on Denison, she grew up on Edgewood, 1 block apart from each other. We've been knowing each other since we were probably, we say 7 years old. That's because we really don't know, because we both went to 204 Elementary School, Mary E. Rodman, and we both lived in the same neighborhood, so we just really don't know when we were introduced to each other per se, because you just see people in the neighborhood and you just start playing with them. And so that's who she was. She wasn't playing with a doll baby sitting on the porch and being clean and that kind of thing, having a little powder on your chest kind of thing. You know how it goes back in the day. She didn't do that. She was out there playing baseball. She was so good when it came time to choosing sides and choosing people to be on there. They most times would pick her before they choose a whole lot of other boys, except for me. Her skills weren't as good as mine. I love you, baby. Anyway, but she had game, and so we've been knowing each other and been friends all those years. Yep, Jackie also need to understand, not only was she a great baseball player, she considers herself to be a tomboy as well. And when she turned 13, she took up a paper route. And the paper route, she kept the paper route until she went to college. And most of the people in our neighborhood, down the bottom, Monastery, 100, 200 blocks of Monastery, 100, 200 blocks of Denison, 100, 200, 300 block of Edgewood, knew her as the paper girl if they didn't know her name. And to this day, when I talk to people and say, yeah, I married Jackie, and they're like, Jackie, Jackie, Jackie. I said, Jackie the paper girl. And they're like, oh, that Jackie. So yeah, everybody knows who she is, and so that's who she is. Tough girl, I love her dearly, And that's why we're on this journey for 35 years of being married. I'm glad. It's been a great journey. We got married in 1987. This year makes 35 years. We've had our challenges, as any married couple would can say. Anybody that's been married any length of time, but one of the things we knew we were committed to each other and committed to our relationship. And what we've learned over the years is that we are just one. We really are one, and we function as a team against anything that comes against us, not allow it to divide us, because we found strength in standing together to overcome the different challenges that we've had. We lost our first child in January of 1990. Um, that was a little tough on us, tougher on Jackie, but we we managed through that, um, and it brought us closer together, strengthened us, and that same year in December, our first son was born. So there was a reason and a purpose for us losing our first child, and we gained strength from it. And our first son was born in December of 1990, and um, he's a great young man today and a blessing to our lives. Yep, and so and so to know, I don't think I slighted my second son. Our second son was born in March of '93. We have two great sons. They've been nothing but a joy to rear as our children. They've added to our families, and they bring so much to our just our little community as family. Well, I can take you further because every time I think about the child that we lost, it's such it was a real gut punch because she was born prematurely um, at one hospital. I'm not going to name hospitals. At one hospital, they moved her to another hospital, moved the baby to another hospital, and left my wife at the first hospital, and so she had to remain there. And she survived for 26 hours, and all I can just remember, I remember it all like it was yesterday, but the biggest thing that I remember out of that is how Jackie felt going into the hospital with a baby in her belly, but leaving the hospital without a child in her arms, and that took her very low. But I think the most distressing thing for us was when we were talking to one of the nurses at the second hospital. We were asking her, what you going to do with the baby, and she's like, we're just going to dispose of her. Now that was almost like a second gut punch, and we were like, no, we're not going to do that. So we had a proper funeral for her and burial. So that helped us with our grief. But in talking about it, sometimes it still, we still had those feelings and everything. But one of the things we know that again, her life had purpose, and so her life is still honored every day in our family. As a matter of fact, as I said, you might get to this. Um, I even list her in my acknowledgments in my dissertation. Her name is Keziah Myona Thornton. That's put me on my mission for going through copping. I had to really step up my game and really start moving towards what God had for my life. And one of the things is that I needed that undergraduate degree to continue to serve, to go forward in ministry as God had called me into. God called me to preach in 1987, but of course I wasn't prepared, I wasn't ready. So I finally preached my initial sermon on April the 21st, 1989, and in that process of time, God was still challenging me to prepare myself for the journey ahead. And one of the things that came onto the table that God challenged me with was getting my undergrad degree so I could go on and get my master's degree. So I'm grateful for the time I spent at Coppin. I was there from September '92 to May of '97, and after I graduated from Coppin, I went to St. Mary's Seminary to get my master's degree. And at that point, family was at a place where I put my education on the side and then made a decision to just focus on my sons to make sure they understand the importance of getting a good education, and was right there to make sure they did get a good education. And I said I'll go back and work on my doctorate after they graduate from from college basically. So I had a long journey ahead to make sure that they would be successful to get through those years. And after they finally graduated, then that's when I decided to go back and get my doctorate degree. And I'm almost done, just waiting for final approval and then the defense. Hopefully the defense will take place in September 2022. No, don't have that long. I'm eager, I'm looking forward to it. Feel like the weight has already been lifted. I'm just ready to sit before the panel and make it happen, because I already know it's going to be done. Jackie and I had this conversation often about which high school to go to. She said she didn't want to go to Edmonson because, everybody she knew that went to Edmonson, and she didn't want to have to walk to school, high school. So she ended up going to Western. And so, but I wanted to go to Edmonson because I wanted to be like so many of those other guys that were before me that went to Edmonson. That like I said, there were neighborhood older guys in particular that I wanted to be like. I wanted to be like them.
And I really didn't even talk about this vantage point from here, just looking down. You get to see, so much in front of you. And then on the other side, when you have a class on the third floor on the other side of the building, you can see clear downtown to the inner harbor. And, the sky's the limit. And if you were a dreamer like me, you dreamt of doing big things. And that's what I did when I was in those classes. I was a daydreamer. Teachers had to pull me back in, but I was dreaming of doing big things, and I'm grateful to God He gave me the opportunity to do them.
Okay.
These steps symbolize to me what it takes to get ahead in life. You have to take steps to go higher and higher. And for 3 years in high school, I climbed up these steps every day, and that lesson is ingrained in me, that you have to take certain steps before you elevate yourself and get higher. I had plenty of fun. Edmonson was my place of nurturing. It helped me develop, and in the process, all my friends were here. And so we had plenty of fun. Our sporting events were jam-packed, always full of fun. We had great team spirit, high school spirit, and just loved being here. This was a great school. We would meet on these steps, we would talk on these steps, we would converge on these steps. These steps meant everything to us. It was a central place in our school.